Hello everyone, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 1st March 2021. So let us see which are the important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the important articles. For mains purpose and for prelims purpose we have separated them. Let us take overview first of these articles. Here for mains related articles on page number 6 and 7, editorial page and op-ed page. First, a wolf in watchdogs clothing. So one complete editorial, large editorial on page number 6 appeared regarding analysis of recent IT rules 2021, the amendment that has been done to this IT rules regarding guidelines for internet intermediaries and social media platforms. Okay, so the analysis is given. At the same time there are some other articles like this one, Big Brother is watching you, having same context but on page number 7 op-ed page. Okay, so we will have the analysis, the critical analysis of all these guidelines or the amendments that have been done to IT rules. Spurring a reawakening with National Science Day. So on 28th February, we celebrate National Science Day. So having that context, the article is talking about how can we can say improve upon the science field or research and development field in India. So article is providing some insights into that aspect. For specifically prelims related developments, eviction of prawn gharries restarts at Chilika Lake. Okay, so yes, the context is of that eviction of prawn gharries, but yes, for our prelims related perspective, environment and geography mapping part, so Chilika Lake, the brackish water lake, some basic information about that lake. Then ISRO puts Brazil's Amazonia 1 and 18 other satellites into orbit from science and technology part, as well as the space cooperation between India and Brazil. Okay, so yes, those developments will take into consideration in this article. Okay, now we'll go into details of all these developments. First, a wolf in watchdogs clothing. The name given to this editorial says everything. A wolf in watchdogs clothing. That means here it is talking about the government being the watchdog, and yes, the wolf is sometimes deceiving, right? So yes, it is saying that there is good intention behind bringing these amendments, or we can say these rules to regulate all these online platforms, over the top video streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, right? So yes, the context is of this IT information technology guidelines for intermediaries, digital media ethics code rules 2021. Now what are the provisions? First let us try to understand. Yes, this will be revision for 26th February, the Hindu analysis. We have looked into the provisions. Again, briefly we will try to understand. Under these rules, all these digital platforms. Now, which are these digital platforms? First, let us try to understand. First thing, OTT platforms, over the top video streaming apps like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and there are many such videos are there. Second, social media platforms. And third, digital media platforms, or digital, we can say, news media platforms. Digital news media platform. Social media is different, digital news media is different, and over the top platforms, digital platforms are different, and for together the regulatory guidelines are there under these rules. Okay, now how a grievance redressal, 3-tier grievance redressal mechanism under these rules works. So at level 1, let us see, this is the level 1 here, and under this level 1 grievance mechanism is provided at the company level, okay, or that digital platform level. You can see here the grievance redressal system at level of each OTT provider. Now here the grievance officer is to be appointed by each and every company for redressal of grievances within 15 days of receiving such complaints. Okay, so this will be the first level, and now there can be further appeal to the level 2 mechanism, and at level 2 mechanism there is self-regulatory body is to be created by all these digital platforms, OTT platforms coming together. This will be self-regulatory body. Now, who will be heading this self-regulatory body? Retired Chief Justice of India or Judge of Supreme Court, or we can say expert, those who are having expertise in this field. Okay, media or journalism, those will be heading this regulatory body. Okay, suppose the person who is having grievances is not let's say fulfilled by the outcome here, then again there can be last level appeal mechanism here, level 3. There will be oversight mechanism. Now this oversight mechanism is of the government here. Now the government's role comes into the picture at level 3. That's why the government is again and again saying it is soft touch regulatory mechanism. It is soft touch regulatory mechanism. Okay, so oversight mechanism here, basically there will be interdepartmental or interministerial level committee will be established by the government to look into all these appeals from level 2. Okay, so this is the self-regulatory mechanism or soft touch grievance redressal mechanism given under these guidelines, okay, or the IT rules 2021. Fine. Now there are many such we can say criticisms, concerns regarding all these guidelines. But in addition to this mechanism, what are other provisions? Yes, all these digital platforms are supposed to adhere to code of ethics, and this code of ethics includes some of the provisions like norms of journalistic conduct that are compiled by Press Council of India. This is kind of code of conduct for digital news platforms. Now they have to adhere to this one. Or we can say that a negative list of content that shall not be published. Basically it is talking about the reasonable restrictions for Article 19 or the fundamental right given under Article 19, that is freedom of speech and expression, right? So yes, indirectly, implicitly it is talking about this negative list of content that shall not be published. Fine. So yes, this is the provision. Now there are some provisions which are related to social media platforms, and yes, there are some concerns regarding these also. But yes, what are these provisions? First, these big social media platforms, these companies, they have to have certain self-regulatory mechanism, in-house regulatory mechanism. What kind of mechanism? First, appoint chief compliance officer. Then second, appoint nodal officer, and third, grievance officer. Grievance officer is there for everyone, for big social media companies. This chief compliance officer to ensure rules and laws adhere to. So all this IT Act and its rules are supposed to be adhered. This is the responsibility of chief compliance officer, as the name suggests, compliance. Second, nodal officer. Nodal officer will be for coordination with the law enforcement agencies or the government agencies. Okay, so that nodal agency will be a connecting link with the company and the government. And third one, it is the grievance officer. Grievance officer is directly linking with those who are having grievances or those who have filed complaint or grievances related to the content displayed on those platform, digital platform. Right. So these three officers, big social media companies. The next aspect you need to understand is that messaging apps like WhatsApp, Signal to trace problematic message. Now from where this provision has come? Basically this has been there in section 69A of IT Act 2000. Where section 69A of IT Act 2000, basically we need to trace down the originator. These companies, like suppose there is any violent video, morph video that is going on, spreading on the WhatsApp. Now because of that there is chance of disturbance to public order, right? And for that purpose the responsibility to get the originator of that video is on this social media platform now. Okay, and therefore it is a cumbersome procedure, additional burden on these companies now. Okay, next thing we have to understand concern is big social media companies will have to take down unlawful content within specific time frame. Now what is this specific time frame? Within 36 hours. Within 36 hours of receiving such a request by the government or court. Now this will be again a very much cumbersome procedure. Basically these provisions are already there in our law. What is need of such we can say new guidelines? Basically whatever the provisions are already there under IT Act and its rules notified under that act, they needed to be implemented. More clarity is required on those rules and provisions. Now some of the concerns, let us discuss these concerns. First and foremost is that yes, the 3-tier structure of regulation is cumbersome. Basically those who are having the grievances, they need to have certain kind of we can say effective mechanism. Okay, the 3-tier mechanism is again to some extent the government being at apex position is to some extent not showing the soft touch regulation, rather we can say that it may result into the hard regulation. We have to understand that, because yes, for print media and electronic media, the government is focusing always on self regulation. The government does not entertain, or we can say that from time to time there has been always emphasize on self-regulation of media. But here the role of government has come into the picture and therefore it has been criticized. Second, the new guidelines give executive unbridled power. Now what is the manifestation? What can be the manifestation of this one? There can be misuse or arbitrary use. Right, there can be misuse or arbitrary use of these provisions, these powers with the government executive, and we have seen that yes, how the government is muzzling the voices of the criticism of its own policy decisions. Right, and from that perspective we can understand that such kind of powers without checks and balances. Yes, checks and balances by legislature, checks and balances by judiciary on this executive power. This creates the problem in democratic setup or the setup which is there in our constitution. Purview of IT Act has been expanded to bring in all these digital platforms without any legislative mechanism. There should have been amendment. Okay, so basically the IT Act does not cover itself the digital platform. Now through executive action these rules have been amended and the scope of IT Act have been expanded, and there should have been discussion in the legislative houses, parliament, and then the IT Act should have been amended and then such rules should have been notified. Okay. Impact on creativity and freedom of expression. Surely the fundamental right under Article 19, freedom of speech and expression will be surely curbed, as we have seen that all the OTT platforms, yes, to some extent there are some let's say the contents on those web series or movies on the Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and such video streaming app. However, largely they have flourished with creativity and freedom of expression. Surely they have focused on some of the social issues which have not been focused by we can say mainstream movies or those we can say platforms of freedom of speech and expression. So surely it will have negative manifestations on freedom, creativity and freedom of expression. And lastly but not least, it will pave the way for more opacity and secrecy rather than more transparency and accountability. Okay, so yes, these are the concerns associated with all this, the new guidelines or the IT rules 2021, and therefore ultimately as a way forward we can say that the focus should have been always on self-regulation. There should not have been any excess powers with the executive or the government in this regulatory mechanism. Fine. Yes, so there can be question like this: critically examine the regulatory approach taken in the IT guidelines and these ethics code rules 2021. So yes, for that purpose you need to know the provisions. What is this regulatory mechanism? What is this three-tier grievance mechanism that is given in these rules? And then you need to discuss some of the concerns that we have just now discussed in this article. Okay, so yes, there can be question in GS2 paper framed like this: critically examine. Critically examine, the focus should be on the negative aspects. 60% to 70% you should criticize these rules, and 30% to 40% you should talk about the need of these rules. And in need of these rules, surely you can mention that there has been many such contents like child pornography or the pornography content, and we can say that there is some kind of hurting of sentiments, religious sentiments, cultural sentiments through these online platforms. And for that purpose we can say that, or even the protecting rights of the women also. So for that purpose there was need felt for regulation of these platforms. Okay, so to some extent 30 to 40% of the answer should be positive, and 60 to 70% there should be criticism of these guidelines. Fine. Yes, now moving on to next article: spurring a reawakening with national science. So yes, recently on 28th February we have celebrated National Science Day. Now why do we celebrate National Science Day? To commemorate the achievement that have of C.V. Raman in discovering this Raman effect. Okay, so Raman effect related to scattering of light. This is huge. This was huge development in the field of science all over the world, and that has led to winning of Physics Nobel Prize to C.V. Raman. Okay, so yes, on that particular day, for that particular discovery on that particular day, we commemorate this National Science Day, and it has the major objective of spreading the importance of science in improving the standard of life of the people. And therefore, this article is having that context. How can we do that? Yes, in recent times there are two such important policy decisions that have been taken regarding spreading of science for welfare of the people. Yes, first one is NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020. So some of the provisions, how it is helping to spread the science in the society, welfare of the society. And second is draft STIP. Recently we have discussed about this in the Hindu Analysis 27th the Hindu Analysis. You can refer to this the Hindu Analysis lecture, wherein we have discussed evolution of science policy in India, and there we have looked into provisions of draft STIP. What is STIP? Science and Technology and Innovation Policy. Now this draft policy in the public domain and for review and feedback, and final policy is not declared by the government yet, but some of the progressive measures have been taken to for the further development of science research and development field. So NEP 2020, how it promotes this objective of National Science Day? Yes, the focus have been there on importance of language in spreading the importance of science in the society. Yes, from time to time, even the scientific community like S.N. Bose in 1940s, there have been always focus on spreading of science or knowledge of science in vernacular languages, right? So yes, this has been acknowledged by NEP. Now there is setting up of National Research Foundation, NRF, as institutional setup in terms of research and development. It will give a fillip to research and development activities in India. Okay, so to encourage and fund R&D activities. Research, National Research Foundation. Okay, if we are talking about draft Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, STIP, then there are also some provisions like proposal of research excellence framework for higher research institutes, higher educational institutions. Okay, what is this? Research excellence framework. Now this is again good initiative for ensuring quality of research. Quality is very important in research and development field. The second aspect, fostering science and technology enabled entrepreneurship. Again, this is very important aspect of innovation, science and technology for welfare of the society. So ultimately we can say that we have rich legacy of scientific development and scientists like Aryabhatta, or we had the Varaha Mihira or Bhaskaracharya in ancient and medieval times. And now, yes, many such scientists have contributed in last century also. Now we need to have, we have the collective responsibility to continue, carry forward this legacy of Indian science in the world. Okay, so yes, the article is discussing from this perspective, GS3 paper, Science and Technology syllabus. Okay. Now specifically some articles, some developments regarding prelims related, we can say that yes, this is talking about eviction of prawn gharries restart at Chilika Lake. Now this is good development for conservation of Chilika Lake. Now basic information about Chilika Lake. Yes, this is India's largest brackish water lake. Now Chilika Lake is the lagoon lake. Now what do you mean by lagoon lake? You can see here the location in Odisha. Location of Chilika Lake. It is just south of Mahanadi Delta. It is just south of Mahanadi Delta, and it is exactly located at the mouth of Daya river. Now there can be statement in prelims examination like this: north of Mahanadi Delta, south of Mahanadi Delta. So you need to know that it is located south of mouth of Mahanadi, or we can say Mahanadi Delta. Yes. Basically, lagoon lake, what do you mean by lagoon lake? How it is formed? Basically, it is a depositional feature of, waves. It is depositional work of waves. Okay, and how it is formed? Yes, let us have a look at how it is formed. Yes, suppose this is the coastline. And what happens is, first there is formation of barrier like this, a deposition to some extent, to some distance from the coast happens, and this barrier comes above the surface, sea surface like this, and on one side it gets locked. This is called as spit. First it was barrier, then it is now spit. And the other end is to some extent now trying to lock this like this. Now this is lagoon, and when the water is there inside this enclosed body now, therefore it is called as lagoon lake. Now which are other such lagoon lakes in India? Important ones like Pulicat Lake. Pulicat Lake is there. Where? At the boundary of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. At the boundary of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Then there is another such lake, Ashtamudi Lake. Where? In Kerala. Like these are important brackish water lakes of India, or we can say lagoon lakes of India. Fine. So yes, from geography perspective, this is important. The depositional features of waves, lagoon lake. Now, specifically talking about Chilika Lake, again coming back to this point, there is the bird sanctuary, Nalabana Bird Sanctuary, that is located here within Chilika Lake, Nalabana Island or Nalabana Bird Sanctuary within here, and this is a very important site for migratory birds. Nesting site for migratory birds, we can say that winter birds especially, right? Migratory birds, they nest this in this Nalabana bird sanctuary. At the same time, this is important source, or we can say habitat for this Irrawaddy dolphin. Now this article mentions endangered Irrawaddy dolphins. Okay, so basically this Chilika Lake is important habitat of Irrawaddy dolphins in India. Now some information about Irrawaddy dolphin. Why? Why do we need to know about such species? Let us come at this MCQ here. This was asked by UPSC in 2019 and see what kind of question UPSC is asking. The natural habitat and the wildlife. You can see blue-finned mahasir, here the river name is given. Irrawaddy dolphin, again river name is given, and rusty spotted cats, again habitat is given. Now we have to mark the correctly matched pair here. Now just now we talked about the Irrawaddy dolphin, the mention. We need to know about this. Yes, surely we will come back to this MCQ, but let us take basic information about this Irrawaddy dolphin here. These are oceanic dolphin. The matter is closed. Oceanic dolphin, how can it can be found in the Chambal river, right? So that option should be wrong. That particular pair is wrongly matched. Okay, it is found near the sea coast and in estuaries and river parts of Bay of Bengal and Southeast Asia. That means they are to some extent found in estuaries and the coastal areas. Okay, and the concentrated population is located in two areas of the world. One is Chilika Lake now. So you need to know the major habitat, and the IUCN status, conservation status of this Irrawaddy dolphin is endangered. Okay, so this much information is sufficient. Now let us have a look at this MCQ now itself. Yes, now we have understood from the present information, Irrawaddy dolphin, surely it is not in Chambal river, it is there in Chilika Lake in India. Chilika Lake, Odisha, India. Now blue-fin mahasir, yes, it is found in Kaveri river. This is correctly matched. Okay, this is many times in news because this is its habitat is threatened. Okay, rusty spotted cats, Eastern Ghats, this is also correctly matched. Okay, so 1 and 3 should have been answered. Rusty spotted cats are found in deciduous forest and rocky terrain. They avoid evergreen forest. So surely they may not be found in Western Ghats. Their major natural habitat is Eastern Ghats. Okay, so this is how you need to tackle these MCQs. Further development on page number 1 from, let's say, important developments regarding space missions. Now ISRO has launched on its vehicle PSLV C-51 the Brazil's Amazonia 1, which was carried. Now this is Earth observation satellite. So Earth observation satellite, the basic motive of this satellite was for observation of Amazon forest. Okay, now this is important for overall world also. And now bilateral relations in space cooperation between India and Brazil. Okay, so yes, we know that Amazon is world's largest rainforest and its protection is important for all world. Okay, looking at the kind of global warming we are observing and the pollution levels. Along with that satellite, what are other satellites? 13 satellites from US, 5 satellites including Satish Dhawan satellite from Chennai-based Space Kids India were built by students. One satellite named University or University 1, something like this. It was developed by again college students, like one college from Nagpur, Raisoni College of Nagpur, and the students from that college, they developed this satellite and this was launched on this mission. Okay, this is a 78th mission from Sriharikota. Sriharikota is located, or this Satish Dhawan Space Launch Center is located on the Pulikat Lake, that spit or that bar of that Pulikat Lake. Okay, yes, the location you also need to know about that. Now Amazonia 1 with mission life of 4 years will monitor deforestation in Amazon region. Just now we were talking about this. Fine. Additional development, now this Satish Dhawan satellite has an engraving of PM Narendra Modi on the top panel to show solidarity and gratitude for Atmanirbhar initiative. अब मोदी जी का नाम भी हमने स्पेस में सैटेलाइट पे भेज दिया है. एट द सेम टाइम इट ऑल्सो हैड द कॉपी ऑफ भगवद गीता. Okay, it had the copy or the words ingrained of the Bhagavad Gita in that satellite. Okay, so these are some factual trivial facts about the developments in space sector. Now the cooperation between Brazil and India in space sector, if we talk about the evolution, yes, first signed MOU, memorandum of understanding between the Department of Science and AEB. Basically it is body of Brazil in 2002, followed by a framework agreement in 2004 that was reviewed by joint working group. And recently in 2007 they inked the special arrangement which allows Indian scientists access Brazilian ground station to remote sensing data from Indian satellites. So basically it is largely now moving towards the launching of satellites by each other. Okay, now this is good development if we are talking about the South-South cooperation also. While Brazil is also important developing country along with India, China, South Africa. Fine? Yes. So yes, these were important developments from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of mains related issues and articles is done by Ansari Sir and team, you can contact LUKMAAN IAS. Thank you. अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो इसको लाइक कीजिए, शेयर कीजिए और आपका फीडबैक हमें कमेंट बॉक्स में बताइए. साथ ही साथ में आप लुकमान आईएएस के चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए. थैंक यू.